Ivanka Trump.
Please welcome to the stage, Ivanka Trump.
I'm still standing better than I ever been. Looking like a true survivor, feeling like a little kid.
Hello. Thank you, Mercy. And hello, Fort Myers. Oh, I love you all. 4 years ago, Florida elected a builder, an entrepreneur, an outsider, a proud champion of America to fight for the forgotten men and women of this country, and that is exactly what he's done. 13 days from now, with your help, we're going to once again win Florida, and we're going to win 4 more years for the people's president, my father, Donald J. Trump. Four more years. I don't think I have to tell this group, but early voting is happening now, so vote, vote, vote. Before my father ran for office, politics was really not my life. Like many of you, I was a busy working mom, 3 little children. When I came to Washington, I quickly learned why the political establishment tried so hard to keep my father out of office. In the swamp, it's easy for politicians to survive if they silence their convictions and skip the hard fights. I was shocked to see people leave major challenges unsolved so they could blame the other side and campaign on the very same issue in the next election. But Donald Trump did not come to Washington to win the praise of the Beltway elite. Donald Trump came to Washington for one reason and one reason alone: to make America great again. For the first time in a long time, we have a president who's called out Washington's hypocrisy, and they hate him for it. My father has strong convictions. He knows what he believes, and he says what he thinks. Really not a normal concept in Washington, D.C. Whether you agree with him or not, you always know where he stands. I recognize that my father's communication style is not to everyone's taste, and his tweets can feel a bit unfiltered. See, but some people love him, right? This crowd loves him. But you know what you like more than the tweets? You like the fact that when my father makes a promise, he keeps it. In less than 4 years, President Trump has rebuilt the United States military, secured America's borders, defeated the ISIS caliphate, fostered peace in the Middle East, delivered historic tax and regulatory cuts, fixed our broken trade deals, and brought jobs back to America and back to Florida. President Trump has done more for Florida in 47 months than Joe Biden did in 47 years. It's the truth, folks. People fight the hardest for what they love the most. And my dad loves you. He loves this country. And he will never stop fighting for you, for your jobs, for your families and your communities, and for your future. President Trump built the greatest economy in American history, and now he is leading the greatest American comeback. We have added a historic 11.4 million jobs in the last 5 months. Through the Paycheck Protection Program, an amazing program which really helped save America's small businesses, we've saved over 3.2 million jobs here in the Sunshine State. To confront the virus, our president brought together government and the private sector for the largest industrial mobilization since World War II. Thanks to America's medical genius, the mortality rate has declined by 85% since April. It's extraordinary. Look at the president himself. 2 weeks later, he's bouncing around the country with more energy than most of us have in our whole bodies. The president's early and aggressive action to stop travel from Europe saved up to 2 million lives compared to scientists' best estimates at the time. Extraordinary. I was there. I heard all these estimates firsthand. It was extraordinary. Through Operation Warp Speed, we are on track to deliver a safe and effective vaccine before the end of the year. We have built up supplies, testing, and treatments, and we are protecting the most vulnerable while healthy Americans go back to work and back to school. On that note, I have to say, as a mother of 3 young children myself, I know I speak for a lot of parents here right now when I say that my appreciation for our nation's teachers is at an all-time high. It was high before, but now it's through the roof. So Joe Biden has said he would shut down our entire country. To what end? Endless lockdowns are not a strategy. The Republican Party is the party of safe reopening. Time and time again, I've seen my father's relentless determination to deliver for you, the American people. One of the issues that was central to his campaign in 2016 was fair and reciprocal trade. When President Trump got to Washington, many politicians, including Republicans, resisted any change. I'll never forget that one day after a long trade policy meeting, and I was walking back with him to the residence, and he looked at me and he said, "You know, the reason this has never been done before is because our leaders have not had the guts. When the economy is good, they settle for good, and when it's bad, they don't have the will or ability, so they kick the can until it's somebody else's problem." He was right. If he didn't take on these fights, no one would. In the months that followed, President Trump refused to settle for a good deal. He wanted a great deal, and that's exactly what we got. How good is USMCA? Supports a lot of jobs right here in Florida. So, like all of you, I've noticed recently that Joe Biden likes to plagiarize our president's Made in America agenda. But he supported every disastrous trade deal that shipped good-paying jobs and factories overseas. China's entry into the WTO, one example. NAFTA, job-killing NAFTA, another example. TPP. When Joe Biden was vice president, America lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. In the first 3 years of the Trump administration, America gained 500,000 manufacturing jobs. Who remembers the magic wand? It's true. Like my father says, Joe Biden should not be demanding the support of America's workers. He should be begging for their forgiveness. President Trump is also advancing the American values of work and family. I've worked alongside my father as we secured the largest ever increase for childcare funding, giving more than 800,000 low-income families great childcare at a cost they can afford. As part of Republican tax cuts, in 2019 alone, 40 million American families benefited from the child tax credit. 40 million American families, an average of $2,200 a family. The best investment we can make is an investment in that next generation. So Democrats recently introduced a plan to increase the child tax credit. Yet when I was fighting less than 3 years ago at the president's direction to get Congress to double the child tax credit, not a single Democrat voted to pass the law. We got it done anyway, folks. Joe Biden has been in the swamp a very long time. In 1981, yes. Oh, we're doing it. Just getting started. In 1981, 2 months before I was born, then Senator Joe Biden wrote an op-ed opposing the expansion of the child tax credit. And now that's his plan for the next generation of America. Biden has further pledged to raise taxes on American working families by $4 trillion. We can't let it happen. In a second term, President Trump will cut taxes again, and he will create 10 million jobs in the next 10 months. President Trump created the most inclusive economy in American history, one that permits all people to rise. During President Trump's first 3 years in office, 72% of all new jobs were secured by people outside of the workforce. They had been marginalized, they weren't even counted in unemployment, and they were coming back. Wages were rising. Employers were investing in their skills, like through our Pledge to America's Workers, where the president called on the private sector to hire and train 16 million Americans for the jobs of today and the careers of tomorrow. In a second term, we will provide vocational education to every high school in America and school choice to every parent in this country. School choice is giving more than 400,000 Florida students a future of hope. It has changed the lives of students like Denisha Merriweather from Jacksonville, Florida. Denisha is right here with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Denisha. You're a warrior now for the cause, and we love it. For many years, Denisha was trapped in failing schools. She repeated the third grade twice. Then she received a school choice scholarship. She attended a Christian school that lives by their motto, which is where learning is a joy, excellence is the norm, and superiority is the goal. And Denisha rose to that challenge. Denisha became the first person in her family to earn a high school diploma. She graduated from the University of West Florida and is now completing her master's in social work. In 2017, Denisha was my father's guest at the joint session address to Congress, and we're so excited to have you back here, Denisha. You're amazing. You inspire us all. Keep up the great work. We as a society have a duty to ensure that every child has the very best chance to pursue their dreams, find their purpose, lift their communities, and change the world. Joe Biden opposes school choice and has pledged that if he is elected, charter schools will be, and I quote, gone. President Trump, on the other hand, he will sign the most significant school choice legislation in history in term 2. While Democrats are focused on making Americans dependent on Washington, we are focused on liberating each individual and freeing them to thrive. To revitalize neglected communities, we created nearly 9,000 opportunity zones, 400 of which are right here in Florida. President Trump rectified the disparities of the 1994 Biden crime bill that disproportionately hurt African Americans. Against all odds, he signed into law the most significant criminal justice reform of a generation. My brothers and I like to joke that our father has kept more promises than he made, and that's true, folks. He didn't campaign on criminal justice reform. He did it anyway because it was the right thing to do. Many of the issues my father has championed are not historically Republican priorities. Trade, right? What he's done with those trade deals is a great example. Brought the party along, and now everyone agrees. But where Washington chooses sides, our president chooses common sense. Where politicians choose party, our president chooses people. Since the day he took the oath of office, I've watched my father take on the failed policies of the past and do what no leader has done before. As one example, Joe Biden has been one of the biggest champions of Big Pharma for decades, allowing them to rip off millions of American patients. My father is not beholden to anyone, but you, the American people. President Trump took action to dramatically cut the cost of prescription drugs despite fielding very angry calls from the CEOs of every major pharmaceutical company. I was there. And a lot of lawmakers, by the way. Now, when we see an attack ad for Big Pharma, my dad looks at me and he smiles and says, "You know we're doing something really right if they're hitting us that hard." He's so right. Don't believe their lies. President Trump puts Americans first. He will always protect Social Security. He will always protect Medicare, and he will always protect patients with pre-existing conditions. Just last week, the president came here to Fort Myers to reaffirm his solemn pledge to protect America's seniors. Our president has also achieved the unthinkable, energy independence. The United States is now a net exporter of oil and natural gas, and we are no longer dependent on foreign nations for our energy needs. It's about national security. It's about jobs as well. While growing American jobs, he's also preserving American lands. You probably haven't heard about this, watching television, watching the news, reading the papers, but in August, our president signed into law the most comprehensive legislation on conservation since Theodore Roosevelt created our national park system, the Great American Outdoors Act. We are restoring our cherished national parks, like Florida's own Everglades. My father is not afraid of questioning old conventions and finding bold solutions to care for hardworking Americans. One example is at the onset of the pandemic, our president saw that American crops, great, beautiful American crops, were going to waste while lines at food banks wrapped around the block. He instructed me to find a way to get this unbelievable, nutritious food, fresh fruit, dairy, produce, vegetables, everything, to families most in need. Within a matter of days, we launched the wildly successful Farmers to Family Food Box program. Over 100 million boxes of fresh, nutritious food has been delivered from America's family farms into the hands of those in need. It's amazing. To protect the most vulnerable among us, I have had the honor of working alongside our president as he signed into law 9 pieces of legislation to combat the evil of human trafficking and online child exploitation in America. This wasn't even an issue that politicians were talking about. So important, the gravest of human rights violations. A few months ago in Tampa, law enforcement arrested 6 human traffickers and freed 5 women from modern slavery. Thank you, law enforcement, our men and women in blue. Do we love them? We will not rest until every American is safe and we stamp out the evil of human trafficking once and for all. To change the paradigm in the Middle East, President Trump also took a fresh approach. I heard the foreign leaders, they called and they begged him not to move the American embassy to Jerusalem. Yet he kept his promise, also made and unfulfilled by many past presidents, because he knew it was the right thing to do. Defying all expectations, just last month, he rewrote history again by making 2 peace agreements in the Middle East. The biggest breakthrough in a quarter of a century. President Trump has worked to achieve peace in the Middle East so that the United States can finally end the endless foreign wars. I agree. Thousands of American men and women have made the supreme sacrifice in the war on terror. Among those was the brave young American, Daniel Eggers. He grew up not far from here in Cape Coral, Florida. He has followed in his father's footsteps, joined the military, and became an Army Green Beret, a true hero. In 2004, on his second deployment to Afghanistan, Daniel gave his life while protecting us against these horrible terrorists. This afternoon, we are profoundly honored to be joined by Daniel's family. His parents, Bill and Margot, are here with us today. Thank you, Bill and Margot. And his amazing sisters, Mary Jean, Maris, and Rosemary. Where are you? Where is sister? Thank you for your sacrifice. In honor of your son and so many other brave Americans, President Trump ordered the strikes that took out the world's top terrorist. He is advancing peace through strength, and our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines are coming home. $2,000 came home last month. 2,000. So important. The legendary Winston Churchill once said, "It was the nation that had a lion's heart. I gave it the roar." How much does that remind you of our president and this movement? Has he not given all of us the roar? Here in America, at this critical hour, we, the people, choose Donald Trump. My father is so unapologetic about his beliefs that he's caused me and countless Americans to take a hard look at our own convictions and ask ourselves, what do we stand for? What kind of America do we want to leave for our children? I'm more certain than ever before we want a future where our kids believe in American greatness. We want a society where every child can live in a safe community and go to a school of their choice. We want a culture where differences of opinion and debate are encouraged, not canceled. Where law enforcement is respected. Where our country's rich diversity is celebrated and where people of all backgrounds, races, genders, and creeds have the chance to achieve their God-given potential. This is the future my father is working to build each day. Folks, Washington has not changed Donald Trump. Donald Trump has changed Washington. And he's not done yet. America doesn't need another empty vessel who will do whatever the media and the fringe of his party demands. Now more than ever, America needs a warrior in the White House. My father fights so hard for each of us, each and every day, and now we have a chance to fight for him and fight for this great nation we love so much. With your help, your voice, and your vote, we will win on November 3rd. It'll be a historic victory, and we will make America greater than ever before. Thank you all, and God bless America. God bless you.